Hello and welcome to the extended essay lesson 9, which is dealing with formulating a research question. This lesson is not just for students, but it's also for supervisors that will be looking over the student research questions to ensure that it's a good research question, or if the student has to go back and refine things. So if you click on the lesson 9 content, you'll see that this lesson comes up. Now, all EE papers need to have a research question that's explicitly presented. So to understand that the EE is not involving a title, but a research question, and that those two things are totally different than one another is something that everybody needs to understand. All right? What you need to do is you need to pose a particular question, and the extended essay is going to go about trying to answer that question. So to have a good understanding of what a research question is, let's look at the IB definition. So it states that it is a clear and focused question centered on a research topic. Research questions usually emerge when questions are asked about a particular issue that a student is interested in or curious about. Well, students have already chosen the DP subject and has gone through a process to refine and hone in on a particular topic within the subject area. So if a student has gone through lesson 8 and gone into the planning document and followed the equation template that involves getting a good EE topic, then they can take that topic and start creating that research question. So if you have questions about, or if there's any sort of uncertainty about what is a good EE topic, then I would advise students and advisors to go back to lesson 8 and either look at the content or look at the video lesson. So to continue on with what the IB defines as a research question, well, it helps to the research question helps to focus the research, and it provides a path through which the students will undertake the research and writing process. So it needs to be specific. If the research question is open or it is unfocused, you're going to find, or a student is going to find, that there are a multitude of different paths to choose from. And this is not what the EE is about. Okay, what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a question and then by the end of your 4,000 word essay, you have now come up with a good research question for your EE. That is not what you want to do. You want to already have that finely focused research question at the start of the essay so that you go down that singular path as opposed to whittling away all these extra paths, and then you finally figure out, oh, this is the path I should have taken by the end of your EE. So make sure that that it's clear and it's well focused. All right, it has a specific aim, and this will allow you, the student, to work towards developing a reasoned argument within the scope of the task. Okay, rather than this is an all about this topic essay that has an unfocused research question. All right, so you need to ask yourselves the following questions about your research question. Is it clear? Okay. Will the reader understand the nature of my research? Well, you got to understand that the EE examiner is your audience. All right, so if your research question, which is one of the very first things the examiner is going to take a look at, if it is unfocused, unclear, doesn't involve an approach to research, it is not argumentative, then the examiner is going to be forced to question your work and your ability to articulate what you are trying to express through these 4,000 words, all because the research question has not provided the writer a fine-tuned path to explore. So the research question has to be direct, and it's going to direct the research being undertaken. Is it focused, all right? Is it specific enough to allow exploration within the scope of the task, which is 4,000 words? Is it manageable? Will I be able to manage this research within the time frame that you've been given? Well, hopefully, because from this point onward, you're going to have about 2 months to, do some additional research, analyze the data, and write a rough draft by the time your senior year starts. Is it arguable? All right. Does the research question allow for analysis, evaluation, and the development of a reasoned argument? Yes. This is something that has to be arguable. Okay, that is an important element, and that's the reason why you're doing the research, so that you can figure out if you can come to some sort of greater understanding that will provide you an answer to the research question. And you're going to get that answer only through in-depth scholarly research, analysis of that research, and then the writing and articulation of your findings. You'll see that the research question will contain usually a command term or a multitude of terms. So things like, or words like analyze or outline, or to what extent, or compare and contrast, or examine, evaluate. All right? These are going to be things that you should incorporate into your research question. All right, so in this lesson, the reflection is going to involve the students journaling and processing what the research question, refinement process is all about. So stating the research topic, which relates back to lesson 8. Okay, this is what you're studying. I'm studying this because I want to find out, blank. Okay, so the example that's provided is a little too general for my taste, but I'm studying public funding for the arts because I want to find out how accessible, the arts are to those people who are on low incomes. So, this is what you're going to explore. That's not a research question, but this is the topic that is going to provide you the direction that's going to get you to that specific research question. Now, you suggest a question, all right? So, try to form the research question and include a command term that was referenced above. So, to what extent are the arts accessible to people who belong to the class of the working poor? All right, so now all of a sudden the question is to what extent. So that's what you're going to measure, right? The arts is the kind of the topic, all right? And then the class of the working poor, and you're probably going to include a comparative with other economic classes. So now that's when you're starting to involve multiple points of view. You're going to evaluate the question to see if it's good enough. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself to test it out to make sure that it's good or that you need to continue to refine it. Are you able to argue a specific position? What are some possible issues or arguments? Is there a range of perspectives on the topic? And does the research question allow for analysis, evaluation, and development of a reasoned argument? This last bullet is probably the most important because it is the primary reason why students are writing the extended essay. Examiners want to see you research, analyze, evaluate data, and then articulate your findings and your reasoning. Okay? So finally, when you're revising your topic statement, right, after you've gone through your evaluation, it's probably going to be a little bit more specific. I'm studying public funding for the arts because I want to find out how accessible the arts are to the working poor, so I can determine whether tax dollars support cultural enrichment for all citizens regardless of their socioeconomic status. That is much more specific than the initial research topic statement. And that's what the supervisor wants to see. They want to see how you have gone through the process to get more specific and more articulate in the start of this process. I'm going to tell you, students, that your first answer is not going to be the best answer, because that's the easy answer. This is not easy. This requires work. It requires you to go beneath the surface. So at surface level, in the initial step, yes, that's probably pretty good. But that's also why I said this is too general for me. But as we go through the refinement process, now all of a sudden we unearth the true reasons why you are going to answer this question, or why you're interested in the topic, and what type of information you want to unearth so that you can answer the specific question. That's really important stuff. And if you try to create a shortcut or try to avoid a step, it is going to compromise the integrity of your extended essay, and it's going to compromise the quality of your work. And you definitely want your work to be showcased and graded appropriately, and hopefully that earns you a high grade. Okay. So finally, in step 4 and 5, we want you to try asking the question in a different way. Okay, and try different command terms to see which one's most appropriate. And finally, with the reflection, does your research question allow you to adequately respond to the question, so what? Who cares? I mean, you're writing a paper, so you're going to want the reader to care as much about this as you. So what? Why is this important? And that's one of the reasons why you want to choose something that you're really interested in, because if you're really interested in it, you probably find it pretty important. What you don't want to do is try to find somebody else's work or something that somebody else values, and then you try to rehash it. You don't want to do that. You are exploring things for yourself, and hopefully for the betterment of other people that haven't considered this particular topic or question. So you are, you're an explorer, and you want to make sure that this is really important to you and express it in a way that makes it important to the reader. All right. And once you've gone through the steps, all right, you should have a pretty good idea of what your research question should be. So this is when you have it in your GDocs, right? And then the supervisor is going to take a look at that. Supervisors, you need to make sure that they follow the process, and that this is the point. At the end of Unit 2, you need to make sure that the student has a good quality research question, because if you just approve it just to approve it, they could go down the wrong path, or it could be too general, and then all of a sudden it creates additional work for all stakeholders. What you want to do is you want to ensure that they are on the right path, and that they've chosen a path that is going to help them be most successful. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that they follow all of the steps that we've laid out. That's it for this lesson. Hopefully it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, students, read through the lesson and talk to your supervisors. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always contact me, and I'll do my best to help you out.